Hello everyone, welcome back to Retro Tech. Today I've got a brand new unboxing video, and this time there's actually something in this box. So let's just talk a second about the box and what I was ordering for. So this was something I obviously bought off eBay, and it's a board, a main chassis board for PVM, a 14M4U. And so I've got another monitor that's similar to that needs a new board. So we've ordered this board to see if we could swap it because it's supposed to be compatible and work in that new 20-inch chassis frame. Let's go ahead and get ready to open this box and take the board out, and I'll talk to you a little bit about who I ordered this from. So here's our box, and it's cut open, ready to open. And I want to just tell you this part, which I mean, this is a, wow, pretty minimal pack job, but it seems to have made it okay. It was taped in there, but it could have gotten flipped around and damaged. The reason, or the person I bought this from is called First Video. And if you've ever done any shopping for PVMs, then you've probably come across First Video's listings on eBay, and he used to be known as the one shop. Now I bought this from him because, again, it's very limited on used parts for PVMs and where you can even get them. So I was happy to be able to get this, and it was only $70 shipped, which is a pretty darn good deal if you need one. So here's the board. Looks pretty good. I don't think anything got damaged. Alright, so here we've got the main monitor with the board that has the problems in it. It's the main board, and again, this is a 20-inch, and it's not even a Sony officially. It's the Olympus OEV203, so that's the exact same as a 20M2 on the Sony PVM scale. However, that one uses, the 20M2 uses the same chassis as the 14M2 as well as the 14M4. So I'm thinking that even without the OEV manual, the parts numbers match up, so this should be a pretty easy switch. Now, what happened to this board originally? Well, it was working fine, but this particular PVM had some of the most condensed thick dust that I've ever seen on it. So I took it out and took it apart, and I started to clean it with some isopropyl alcohol. And once I put it back together and reassembled it after that, I just had terrible problems. I turned the PVM on and got a high-pitched racket whining, and I had never seen anything like that before. So what happened was I was cleaning it with that cleaner, and somehow it damaged or shorted out something. Because if once I turned it on and I let it run for maybe 3 or 4 seconds, all of a sudden the IC on my main power board right here, I heard it pop, and the plastic on it just popped right off, and so this IC blew, which is one of the main ICs on the power board. So I took another IC off a spare power board, installed it in this power board, and this board was doing the same thing. So making a high-pitched whiny noise, and it was about to blow the new IC, so I cut it right off. And today I decided to just swap boards, because if I get this to work, $60 is a better investment than me spending probably 5 or 6 hours trying to diagnose what I had damaged with that rubbing alcohol on the board. I might go back and repair that eventually one day when I've got some more time, but for now I'd like to get this PVM closed up and out of the way. So after all that introduction, let's go ahead now. I'm going to take this old board out and we're going to install the new one and just go on with the process. Alright, my board's ready to pull out, and the very last thing I'm going to do is discharge the anode from the anode cap up here in this area. And I've been getting a lot of interesting questions and people asking me about procedures again on discharging. Look, you just need to make sure you've got yourself the right style of discharge tool, and I'll link to a video I made about how to make a discharge tool up here and how to discharge your monitor. It's a short video, but just do what I say in that video, and look, you don't have to. I've been getting questions about people saying, well, what about my grounding point? Do I need to put it somewhere like on the earth? Or I even had people ask if they should stick this like in their electrical outlet. How is it grounding? It is perfectly safe for it to be grounded out to part of the metal frame or the main ground loop on your CRT. For me, I'm just going to pick one of these random spots up here that's already got a screw in it that I can kind of just tie around with my copper wire, and it's again grounded out. This is a ground point where other parts of the board and everything is connected on a giant ground loop so that everything can ground out properly within this monitor. So I've just got it connected there, and I'm going to take off my ring, and we're just going to slip this under this cap like I normally do. Move that anode cap out of the way and push that connector and get it off. Then tap that a couple times, and then tap this a couple times, that ring in there. And that's all there is to it. You don't have to worry about that, zap. You don't have to worry about it if you've got it grounded out to the ground point on the monitor frame. You don't actually have to do anything beyond that, like grounding it to something heavier. So that's it. That's all there is to it. Just go check out that video if you need more help with how to build a discharge tool and some more tips on how to discharge. This is the board that came from the Olympus, and this is the M4 board. The same size, and they're performing 90% of this is the same. However, there are some things that are a little bit different, as I noticed in here. Like in this area, we've got a single chip on this board. Over in this area on this board, we've got probably 4 smaller chips instead of that single chip. And then if we look over in this area on this board, we've got no connector over here where it says Sony A. Yet over here we've got an additional connector for something else that's additional processing. A lot of this stuff over here, and this is the same design for the actual geometry and geometry controls and everything. So that remains to be the same build out for the most part. So our monitor has been reassembled and is ready for a test. So you can see everything's connected in there, and we'll go run a test now and see if we can get the screen to turn on and not fully blow up on us. And here we go. We're powering up. We seem to be getting some type of screen activity. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a successful screen powered up here. It does have this video, the volume's working fine, and everything. So I was able to swap these boards out. However, it was not 100% compatible and everything. And after toying around with it a little bit, I noticed that this model, which is again a 20M2 clone, does not support a widescreen screen. Basically, it only supports the regular 4x3 format, while the M4 does support widescreen. So one of the things that was going on was I was trying to adjust geometry, and I could not adjust it on normal screen mode. I could only adjust it on the widescreen mode. So the monitor's actually projecting it into widescreen mode here, but I've just got that widescreen expanded out to fit the screen fine, and it seems to be working fine. Alright, so for example here on this, if I see how I expand that, and that's on 16:9 mode. And again, this monitor does not support 16:9 normally, so that's why I've got to expand that out and make that my screen. So it does appear to be working, and that's one good thing. However, there are a couple of little quirks. Like I said, the menu is not, geometry is not connected to the same thing as it would be in normal mode, and there are probably some other little quirks with the menus that may be different, show something on the screen that I can't change on the screen. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to go through and run a lot of tests on this monitor, which I will do, and I'll probably do a follow-up on it, and we'll just check the status of how this board works, and hopefully I can get the original chassis repaired, or I can get a replacement for it at some point, and then get the monitor working back to fully functional. However, this is a spare monitor in my shop, and one of my test monitors that I do a lot of tests like this with, so it'll be in good use here as we continue to try to fix PVM problems. Thanks again for watching. I'm Steve with Retro Tech. Have a wonderful day, and please let me know what you think about this video with a thumbs up and a comment below. Have a good one.